Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Can we talk about Rashomon? Did I read that right? Can we talk about Rashomon? I guess so. I guess we're talking about Rashomon this week. We are delving into classic cinema from the land of Japan in the classic and the directography of one Akira Kurosawa, which I don't know if that's a real word, Kristen.
That's a name. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you mean directography?
This is a tale of intrigue from multiple perspectives. It is Rashomon. I will never be as handsome as Toshiro Mifune. My name is Joe.
I want to play the roles that Machiko Kyo plays. I'm Kristen.
And we are watching Rashomon remastered and subtitled, the Criterion Collection version through the wonderful world of Amazon Video, where you could be a cheap ass like me and just rent the movie for 3 days for 4 smackaroonies.
What do smackaroonies translate into US dollars?
90.
Wow, $90 for Rashomon?
We got, the smackaroonies got a pretty big exchange rate going on right now, so, invest.
Invest.
Hey!
Hey!
As this was a Kristen choice movie, Kristen, I am going to, leave this to you.
So I took a class called Japanese Cinema my senior year of college, which is the only reason that I suddenly have watched a lot of classic Japanese films, which is, like, I think the one thing I maybe have over you besides teenage dramas featuring girls.
Yeah, I have seen... I've seen a lot of Japanese television. I have not seen a lot of Japanese cinema, Super Sentai and Kamen Rider being chief among them.
And you've seen a lot of anime, so there's that too.
Well, not like you haven't seen anime, Kristen.
I would bet you've seen more anime movies than I have. I still haven't seen, like, Akira.
Oh, you probably should want. That is pretty good, too.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so Rashomon is a jidaigeki film, which is a period drama. Vocab words from my Japanese cinema class.
Context clues.
The film is known for a plot device that involves various characters providing alternate, self-serving, and contradictory versions of the same incident. I'm reading from the Wikipedia article.
Very good, as you do.
Rashomon marked the entrance of Japanese film onto the world stage. It won several awards, including the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival in 1951, and an Academy Honorary Award at the 24th Academy Awards in 1952, and it's now considered one of the greatest films ever made.
Kristen, I heard that the Japanese don't like Rashomon very much, actually.
Oh, well, I wouldn't know that because I'm not Japanese.
And the Japanese don't seem to be in agreement as to why America and, like, the West likes it so much. They flip-flop kind of on, like, oh, it's so exotic, Orientalism, and shit like that. And it's like, oh, it's such an American version of a Japanese movie. It's so Hollywood.
It definitely fits into kind of things that Western audiences enjoy. I have also seen Ikeru and High and Low by Akira Kurosawa, and I think those are better for different reasons. They are both gendaigeki, which are films taking place in the modern era, so they're not period movies.
I've watched Samurai 7, the anime from the mid-2000s. That's a loose adaptation of Akira Kurosawa's Samurai 7, Seven Samurai, and was a direct influence on the West's Magnificent Seven, a remake of which came out either last week or this week, or some very close week, and I know Vincent D'Onofrio's in it.
I just heard about that, and now with all of these adjective number movies, I'm having a problem understanding what's happening. It feels like a lot at once.
All I know is the original Magnificent Seven. It's basically the Seven Samurai, but with cowboys, and Yul Brynner is in it.
Oh, cool. So, our director, Akira Kurosawa, Japanese filmmaker, regarded as one of the most important and influential filmmakers in the history of cinema. He directed 30 films spanning a career of 57 years.
And I've seen one.
I've seen 3, so.
I do know that our male lead in this... Well, should I call him our male... I mean, there's not very many characters in this movie, Kristen. I believe there's a total of 8.
Yeah, there's not too many. I only even focused on 3 of them that I'm going to give some notes about.
Okay, of course, Toshiro Mifune is he's the first name you see, and apparently he had done 16 films with Akira Kurosawa, so, like, they've got that blank and blank relationship, and I can't think of the director and actor. Fuck.
So yes, the bandit is played by Toshiro Mifune. He was a Japanese actor who appeared in almost 170 films. And is best known for his 16-film and he was also the main character in High and Low.
No, good to know. Maybe I'll watch that, because he's certainly... I mean, is he laughing just as loudly in High and Low?
No, he's a super serious character in that one. He is a businessman who is getting ready to reinvest in the company that he founded or worked at the bottom of from the beginning, as the other investors are trying to kick him out, but he'd been saving money secretly for years and years and years. And then they try to set up a kidnapping, someone who, not them, the investor specifically, but someone who hates him, sets up the kidnapping of his son, but they accidentally kidnap the son of his chauffeur instead.
Oh.
And he has a moral dilemma about whether or not he will pay the ransom for someone who isn't his son.
Huh. That's pretty interesting.
It is a very stressful movie.
Oh my god. And you're reminding me that I actually have seen more than just this in Japanese cinema, watching both Audition and Ringu, which, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Audition's so fucking scary. It's not. It was lame. And Ringu was ruined completely by a stock sound effect being used near the end of the movie.
I saw The Ring, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Anyway.
And let's see, our other actors. The woodcutter is played by Takashi Shimura. He appeared in over 200 films between 1934 and 1981.
Goddamn, dude.
Yep, he was in 21 of Akira Kurosawa's 30 films.
Goddamn, dude.
And he was the lead in Ikeru, which is the only sad movie I have ever enjoyed in my entire life. That one's also really good. I think you would like that. Not a good podcast movie because it's so sad, but...
Yeah, Grave of the Fireflies, here we come.
Yeah! That was the last movie for my Japanese cinema class. I purposely didn't go to it because I was like, I don't feel like being sad today, sorry.
Good on you.
And the way that I recognized Takashi Shimura is because the woodcutter, when he makes really sad, stressed out faces, that's exactly what his character in Ikaru looks like for the entire movie.
Wonderful.
Yep. The last person that I profiled is the woman who is played by Machiko Kyo. She's a Japanese actress whose film work occurred primarily during the 1950s. She starred in 2 of the greatest Japanese films of the 20th century, Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon, and Kenji Mizoguchi's Ugetsu, which I have seen, and she is amazing in that, and she was in that movie with Masayuki Mori, who plays the samurai.
Does she have eyebrows in that movie?
No, because she plays the same type of character.
Huh. I guess we'll get into it. You probably know now more, Kristen, about Japanese history than I do, but what's going on with that? What's going on with the no eyebrows?
It was just a symbol status thing. She was a noble woman, so they didn't have eyebrows and instead used makeup to make them look round. I'm sure you've seen that in, like, anime and shit before. That's just kind of what, like, wealthy Japanese women used to look like.
Maybe it just doesn't come across as well in anime. I don't know.
They have very tiny, very high, very circular eyebrows. I think it's a good look, like, you know, from a historical perspective.
Well.
Not necessarily eyebrow goals, but, like, costume goals.
Yeah, okay. It's a whole ensemble. It's not just the eye. You can't stick to the eyebrows.
Okay, so Joe, do you know what the Rashomon effect is?
Well, I looked into it. I looked into that old TV tropes Rashomon style. The Rashomon effect is something that the police actually refer to, is it not, of, I believe the example was something along the lines of, if 12 people see a crime, the police are going to get 13 different stories.
Yeah, basically.
Which is essentially what happens in this movie.
Yeah, so it is also a device that has been used as inspiration in a shitload of different types of media, and I have a list of examples to run by you. So, do you remember the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, Who Got You Pregnant?
Yes, I do.
That was a Rashomon effect episode. You wouldn't have seen this, but there is an episode of How I Met Your Mother called The Ashtray, where they do the same thing, different versions of the same stories. And here are a few more fun grab bag examples from Happy Days, our favorite show. An episode called Farms to Get Shot.
Oh my god, what happened to Henry Winkler?
I don't know, I haven't seen it. Johnny Bravo, Rashomon.
That's okay. Why have I not seen that, first of all?
We must have. Okay, so do you remember the Rocco's Modern Life episode?
Yes, I do. That is where Heifer makes Rocco like a toilet paper sculpture or something for his birthday because he forgot about Rocco's birthday.
I'm pretty sure that is it. It's one of the episodes where one of the 3 main characters got into a fight with each other.
I also enjoyed the page quote of Rashomon style on TV tropes is from an episode of The Simpsons where they are going to Japan and Marge is like, oh, come on, Homer. You like Japan. I mean, you liked Rashomon. That's not how I remember it.
Yeah, that basically sums it up. We also have the Ed, Edd and Eddy episode, Once Upon an Ed, which is the episode where they're all stuck in Johnny's wall.
I remember that one as well, yes.
And that's everything.
So we may as well start it off here. We'll play the theme song that plays over the opening credits. We'll give you a little snippet of it as we are one to do. And when we come back, it'll be time for Rashomon.
I first wrote that I would love to see Joe try and say something about the logo in this movie.
What, the title on the gate written in Chinese characters?
Well, there you go.
I read up, Kristen. I did my research. I watched this movie twice, which is the first time I've done that for this podcast.
It's not a very long movie, and has some very skippable moments.
Oh, right, yeah, it's a lot of times I didn't have the problem of pausing every 10 seconds and missing a note, considering there were extended sequences that went on for minutes at a time almost, where I could just write one note and then just kind of watch as things were happening.
Yeah, because I've already seen it, I watched it in about an hour.
So we start off, it is the Rashomon Gate, and the main titles are coming up. It is raining like a motherfucker, Kristen, and I'm gonna bring up IMDb immediately, because IMDb told me that because rain is so hard to capture on film, that they had to make it rain like as damn hard as it was raining through like fucking fire hoses and rain machines and shit.
It was really good looking rain.
And it got to the point where Akira Kurosawa was just like, fucking put ink in there or something. Just throw ink into the... And black ink was put in to mix with the water.
It looked really good. I thought that was very good movie rain.
It was very good movie rain, yes. And we start off under the gate, where we have the woodcutter and the priest, both looking a loss for words. They're just kind of sitting there, both kind of with a slack-jawed look on their face, just staring out into space. They're really spacey looking, basically.
Yep, and the woodcutter immediately starts saying that he does not understand, and just says that a couple of times, like, I don't get it, I don't.
Doesn't understand at all.
Wearing that real sad face.
Here he is making it for the most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a commoner that runs up. He is the third character of this movie, and just basically a giant asshole.
He's not a very nice person, but they're all kind of stuck there from the rain, so where else are they gonna go? Gotta hang out with the weird guy.
Yeah, he's essentially, I would guess, the foil for the priest, or at least the guy who antagonizes the priest the most throughout the movie.
God's not real!
He runs in from the rain and just starts looking over, seeing them just still kind of looking all spacey, and he's just like, oh, fuck it. But starts to get interested when the woodcutter repeats again. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get what I don't understand.
So they both start to expound upon the fact that they have heard a very strange story. And the commoner's like, sign me up. And I said, a weird story? Hold on to your butts, because he's right about that.
I like how the commoner as well is just like, well, shit, we got a wise priest with us. Maybe he'll be able to help out. And the priest is just like, nope, not me.
I don't believe in God anymore. That's how weird this story is. So finally the woodcutter mentions that, like, yeah, a man was killed in this story. And the commoner is like, one dude... One man died, bro.
Here is, yes, where we see the commoner's true colors almost immediately, where he's just like, fuck, there's like 5 or 6 unclaimed bodies at this gate. Why should I give a shit about one person?
But it turns out it's a spooky story.
That involves ghosts.
Oh, ghosts and bandits.
And a woman.
That's the scariest part.
The priest himself, at this point as well, he looks completely shaken. He is on his last legs when it comes to fucking believing in humanity, and he just starts going off, just being like, the nature of man. Oh, fuck, oh, jeez. And the commoner's just like, can I get the story, please? We're literally almost deprived of the movie, because the priest starts talking about human nature, and the commoner's just like, can you cut it with the fucking sermons?
Uh-huh. He's like, if you're going to start with a sermon, I'm just gonna go back and out into the rain.
And the commoner as well. I don't know if this was just... Now, the Rashomon Gate, Kristen, is in not great shape. It is very broken, burned possibly in places, and the commoner just starts going over to just one of the areas of the gate and just starts breaking wood from it so he can just, like, make a fire. And I'm wondering, is that legal? Is that normal?
Well, no one was watching the gate, certainly, so...
I just mean, it's in such a state, I don't know. I mean, it was certainly, I don't know.
I would argue that there are probably broken pieces of wood that if he just looked hard enough, he wouldn't have to rip them off.
Probably, or all of them would be wet and not under the gate.
I guess so.
So the woodcutter comes over as the fire is starting to be made, and he's just like, well, hey, buddy, maybe you can make heads or tails of these stories, because I'm again, I don't understand.
Yep, so the woodcutter tells a tale about how he had a very long walk through the woods that was scored to music.
Yes, here is the first of many scenes that take quite a bit of time. Now, I believe Wikipedia told me this as well, where this is, I think it's the scene, if... This was because the trivia comes up on Amazon Video, as we've mentioned before, like, in the middle of watching the movie. the trivia from IMDb, if you, like, mouse over the screen, will come up. And I'm not sure if it referred specifically to this scene. I think it might. I wasn't really paying too much attention, but this is one of the first movies that had actually handheld work with a camera following the woodcutter through the forest here. Nice.
Man, old movies. We get weird milestones like that.
Yeah, as well as the fact that in order to make it look like there's a lot of forest, he has like a set figure 8 pattern that he's walking in, and it's just shot from a bunch of different angles to make it look like there's a lot of forest.
Yeah, once you spend a decent amount of time in the forest, you can kind of tell that there really wasn't much of it, because a lot of it just looks exactly the same. We come back here quite a lot.
Yeah, well, I did notice, at least when he's passing, at least the second time, because you start to notice these things the second time through, he starts to notice he finds the hat of a woman, he finds the hat of a samurai that's been all trampled on, and then finally, da-da! Dead guy. Oh, I missed he also found a cut rope as well, which isn't quite as important as the dead guy, of course.
No. Yeah, if you put it in the correct order, dead guy comes last.
One of the things that I noticed as he was walking over toward the dead body, as he was on his way, that he passes the stump that the samurai gets his sword caught in later when we get to that point. So I was like, oh, I noticed that.
Oops, same place.
Well, I mean, technically it would be the same place considering this is where the samurai died.
Same place.
We get a horizontal wipe at this point, and horizontal wipes, I believe, are basically, other than cuts, I think are like the only scene. I mean, it's a good means to transition in the courthouse here, because we are in the square of the courthouse.
It really serves the storytelling vehicle.
Right. It lets you know what part of the story this is, I guess, basically, where the woodcutter is giving his testimony in the courthouse square, and he speaks as if he is responding to another actor who is, like, asking him questions, and for some reason, Kristen, I don't know if this is just me, but it reminds me of just when the kids talk to the adults in Charlie Brown.
At least the adults do make noises, but yes, they do respond with what they might have said. Like, what? A sword? I didn't see a sword.
Right, they turn into Solid Snake.
Uh-huh. But yeah, they do their testimonies, all the characters who do have them, reality TV style, like confessionals, sitting in front of a camera that does not move.
Oh, and look at that, I didn't even notice in my notes immediately below, I'm reminded of the adults in Charlie Brown. The next note is, or the phone call Ocelot has at the end of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yes, Mr. President. No, Mr. President. The woman? He doesn't actually say Mr. President until the end.
Yeah, that's the big reveal.
I ruined the surprise. He's Solid Snake is the president.
Metal Gear. The woodcutter is also asked, yes, if he has seen a sword, as you exemplarized, Kristen. Exemplified, which he denies a little too quickly for my tastes.
Do you mean the sword or the dagger?
It would be the dagger. Do they ask him about a sword? They ask him about the sword, but
I think he might have mentioned that the sword wasn't there, because then in the priest's testimony, he mentions that, he was the samurai and he had the sword, and then the bandit also said, I took the sword.
Right, and we see every time in all of the stories as well that Tachibana takes the sword.
Woodcutter is very, very certain that the samurai was killed with a sword and not a dagger. Because he didn't see a dagger, there was no dagger.
Yes, indeed. Now, we do another wipe, and here is where the priest's testimony happens. And I find it, I guess I don't find it odd that the priest is involved here, but it's, the priest gives a testimony because he met with the samurai and his wife the 3 days previous when the murder took place. Even though he didn't really meet with them, they just kind of passed him on the road.
Yeah, met is loose.
The loosest possible sense.
They saw them and then walked past each other.
Human life is as fleeting as the morning dew or whatever the fuck. And it's just General Priest being like, it's a shame. What a shame. He was a good man. What a rotten way to die.
What a typical priest.
I find it odd that that's all the priest really gets, too, in terms of his story. I mean, he needs to be here so he could lose his faith in humanity, but as a character, he doesn't really have much going on for him, other than, I saw the guy.
Nah, yeah, he doesn't contribute too much at all.
So we horizontal wipe again, and here we see a policeman with the famous bandit Tajamaru, Toshiro Mifune, all tied up, captured. He was found fallen off a horse, the horse of the deceased, I should say, near a river.
Yep, and apparently he had very bad poops.
Well, I mean, we see the policeman has a flashback himself here. Also, I didn't really mention it, but we are witnessing flashbacks within flashbacks at this point, so Christopher Nolan, eat your heart out.
That's why I actually think, because I've said to Joe before, whenever I've referenced things that I could write papers about, it is partially because I've taken classes such as this one where I've written papers about things, and I have indeed written a paper about Rashomon, And I think that the weather is a really good device to keep you grounded in where you are.
Okay, do tell.
Well, besides the fact that all the testimonies take place in front of the one Steadicam, all the things that happened in the past are on that really hot day, where everyone is super sweaty, and then every time you go back to, current time, it's pouring rain, so it's like hot and cold, kind of.
You see, I thought because I mentioned Christopher Nolan, you were going to say that you wrote a paper on Inception, and I was going to be like, what?
I've never seen Inception. I didn't even know that's what you were referencing, so great job.
The policeman finds quite a bit of humor as well in the fact that Tajomaru fell off the horse. It was retribution for what he had done.
Tajomaru starts laughing at him.
Oh, the first of many, many, many times that Tajomaru is just going, ah ha ha, ah ha, ah ha ha ha, ah ha ha.
What a good actor. I like this character a lot.
Tajomaru starts basically covering his ass as well, saying that I didn't fall off the goddamn horse. Are you kidding me?
I had some bad poops.
I drank at a spring where there must have been a dead poisonous snake upriver that poisoned him, which... when you hear this story the first time, and we get to see the imagery of him drinking from the spring as well, and you get the chance to be just like, yeah, why would he lie? Because he says, they're gonna have my head anyway. What reason do I have to lie? And then we see throughout the movie, it's just, again, going back the second time, you see this story, and you're like, Tajomaru he could lie if he wanted to. He'd just say that he didn't want to fucking fall off the horse, and just say instead that he had some bad poops.
Yeah. While he claims that he has no reason to lie, again, the entire theme of this movie is everyone's story is self-serving in some way or another.
Exactly.
And Tajomaru's is meant to make him look very badass.
Yes, indeed, and let's get right into it. It is Tajomaru's story I have in big, bold letters in order to differentiate the...
I did them in all caps when I wrote down the different stories.
Oh, boldface for me. So Tajomaru starts outright admitting that he killed the samurai. Just straight up, yep, I did it. I did it.
When the story starts, we see again that it was a very, very hot day. He is taking a tree nap at the base of a tree.
He looks very, very fatigued. He doesn't look like he's having a good time on this very hot day, just laying under a tree.
Doesn't look like a man who will cross swords with someone 23 times later, but okay.
Tajomaru actually blames the murderous intent that he felt. He blames the murder in general just on the wind, because we see the samurai and his wife, the woman, passing by Tajomaru's, at the base of the tree. I like how there's a moment where the samurai has like this hesitation where he stops and just they kind of look at each other, and then he just goes by, and the wind blows open the woman's veil so he could see her face.
Yep.
And that was enough for him to be like, oh, I'd like that, please.
And the music goes like chimes. And that's the wind.
Well, Kristen, don't you know that's what wind is represented in sound, is chimes?
Yeah, wind chimes.
Oh, shit.
Don't test me. I know what I'm talking about. I took Japanese cinema, Joe.
He knew he had to have her at this point, and if not for that wind, the samurai may still be alive. He initially planned to not even kill the samurai, because if he could fucking capture the woman and, like, get her in front of the still alive husband, fucking great. Boom. I'm a bandit. That's how I work.
Yeah, don't necessarily need to kill people, just want to get the lady, and that's it. But that's not how it goes in this story.
Not quite, no. So, Tajomaru says also that he needed to sort of get them away from the road, which, again, good idea. In theory.
Mm-hmm.
So Tajomaru meets with the man after a while. I guess he was following them or something. He just kind of runs around. I mean, it doesn't say how much time passes, but I guess we're supposed to assume that it's a little while, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Enough that it wouldn't look weird for him to be, like, pretending to sleep under the sweaty tree, and then suddenly be like, wait a minute, I totally just found a lot of valuables over on this hill. I'll sell them to you.
I like how, as well, there's just a lot of silence of him just walking around the horse with the woman on it, and the samurai just going, what are you doing? What do you want? Like, over and over again, until Tajomaru finally takes out his sword, and then it'll just kind of, like, fake out the guy, and then he laughs at him for, like, flinching, basically.
After the samurai decides to go with him to see these valuables, I wrote in quotes, "This man looks insincere and sweaty. I trust him implicitly."
Kristen, did you realize that nobody in this movie is using a katana?
I had a feeling.
I forget what the name of the samurai's sword is, but Tajomaru is using a tsurugi, and, of course, the woman who we see later is using a tanto.
Did I learn both of those words from Soul Calibur?
I'm pretty sure tsurugi means blade, I think. I don't know, it's specifically, like, it's, as you can see, Tajamaru has a very shiny sword. Tanto, I think, was something I learned because I had a Transformer that had one.
Doesn't Taki use Tanto?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Haha. Video games! And booby ninjas. Ew, anyway.
I also like as well, before leading him off and telling him the story of, he found, it was like near some ruins, he found some blades and some mirrors, and I mean, I guess, fuck it, I don't know why mirrors would be buried in shit, but I also like after, he laughs at him for, like, flinching, Tajamaru goes, "Don't be suspicious! I just want to show you my shiny reflective sword!"
Isn't it beautiful?
And this is where Tajamaru starts leading the samurai through the, I want to say mountains, it's not really mountains, but, you know.
Just brush, hills.
Off the beaten path, essentially, yes.
At some point, he starts taking out his sword to swing at a bunch of the brush, and turns around and laughs out loud again. And then I wrote in quotations, "I trust this laugh." And then immediately afterwards, "Oh my god, he lied!"
Well, right before this as well, I believe, we see there's another horizontal wipe, actually, to something that's not at the courthouse. It is to the woman sitting bathed in light, which is probably the most positive that we see her all film when the camera's a million miles away from her.
Yeah, she goes through some shit in multiple storylines in different ways.
Tajamaru at this point as well, basically is just like, "Hey, go ahead of me," and the samurai's like, "I don't think I want to," but he does anyway, and then Tajamaru tackles him and ends up tying him to a tree. So,
the samurai kind of deserved it.
Yeah, he had a lot of chances to, I mean, he could have just fucking killed, like, what, who cares? I mean, I don't know, Kristen, I don't know how lawless medieval Japan was, but if the samurai just fucking killed Tajamaru right there, would anybody have cared? Would anybody have found him?
I'm pretty sure samurai have their own sort of code of chivalry.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's what happened with him. Okay, I'll take that.
Probably seems nuts to kill a guy who has valuables.
So we wipe to Tajamaru laughing wildly, running back toward the woman. He kind of takes a moment, peering through the brush to see her just kind of sitting, hanging out. Now, one of the things, Kristen, Akira Kurosawa told Toshiro Mifune to pattern his movements after a lion, so that's why Tajamaru...
that's why he laughs so much, like a lion.
That's why he's so wacky, laughing lions, of course.
Yeah, just like the Lion King.
I was going to say, he combined Scar and the hyenas and the Lion King into one character.
I seem to remember James Earl Jones laughing a lot.
James Earl Jones was Mufasa, right?
Yes, it was a joke because he didn't.
Fair enough. So...
Yep, make me explain my jokes.
Tajamaru runs back over to the woman and he tells her that her husband has taken sick up in the mountains. And here we see Tajamaru back at the courthouse saying that the look of concern and, like, fear, her face turned pale. And that made Tajamaru all the more jealous of the man. And, like, now he fucking had to go and show the woman how pathetic the man looked tied up to the tree.
So they do that. So he grabs her and they run through the forest and her hat then falls to the ground, we see. I guess because of where all the other stories start, we're supposed to assume that most of this is, besides, like, flavor dialogue and opinions that Tajamaru adds in, this is how things happen up until about what's going to happen next.
Right. At this point is where the story started, basically, for all of the others, where as soon as the woman sees the man all tied up, she takes a minute, just kind of looking around, kind of stepping back, and then there's a lot of silence before she pulls out her tanto and starts going all taki on Tajamaru.
Except less, because she is not a ninja.
No, she is not. She is flailing pretty wildly. She does bite Tajamaru at one point, I noticed.
Yeah, good for her. But sadly, he's into this.
Right. One thing that he mentioned is that he admired the woman's fierceness, essentially, and he messes around with her some more, basically, and then pulls her in for a big ol' kiss.
I wrote, and then they share a passionate kiss, I guess.
Well, in Tajamaru's story, it is indeed a passionate kiss, so...
This is the only story where things aren't very bad for the woman the entire time.
The samurai looks on in shame, and the woman drops her dagger now that she has, to show that she has given in completely, essentially. And Tajamaru got exactly what he wanted, and he didn't even have to fucking kill the samurai! Boom! Such a badass this Tajamaru is!
Ha! Got his bone on without killing anyone. For now.
Well, is it implied that, I know that in all of the other stories there is implied a bone going on, but in Tajamaru's it's just the kiss, right?
No, he says he had her. Which implies that they had consensual sex.
In the biblical sense.
Yes, I'm glad that you know the meaning of that phrase now.
He's about to leave with her, but she says that 2 men cannot know her shame. So...
Yeah, Joe, here are the rules for how women worked in this time period. If she bones down with 2 dudes, one of them has to die. And we're going to revisit this a couple of times, don't you worry.
Yes, we will. And so the husband and Tajamaru must now duel for her hand, I guess. And she'll just go with the winner. And Tajamaru, you know Tajamaru, he's such a fucking honorable bandit. He walks right over, gives the samurai his sword, and cuts the ropes, and they have an intense sword duel.
I don't know what that was supposed to be, but I wrote down dramatic sword fight, exciting music, so that's the noises that came out of me.
Just put in the song Raiden and Sam in Metal Gear Rising. There you go. There's an intense sword duel.
I haven't played Metal Gear Rising.
Oh no. It's good.
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, it's so... The music is so good in it.
Man, for someone who likes Raiden as much as I do, how weird is that, right?
You gotta get out, Kristen. It's on sale every single Steam sale.
I'll look into it, Joe.
Okay. You might already have it. I don't remember. I feel like I might have bought it for you already.
Well, I haven't checked my PC in a while, I guess, so...
Alright, well, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway. Tajamaru shows to have the upper hand basically all of the fight. Again, being a bandit against a trained samurai, just completely overpowering him. Tajamaru's such a what a badass!
Oh yeah, he does such a good job, so he eventually kills the samurai, and very proudly in his testimony says that they crossed swords 23 times, and he remembers because no one's ever crossed swords with him more than 20 times, and he was very, very impressed with the samurai.
He ends up killing him in a very, I don't know if it's an awkward way, but he, raises his sword and, throws it down into him.
Javelin!
He javelins him, Kristen.
It's not really how I would use a sword, but I guess I'm not a famous bandit.
Tajamaru considered him quite the worthy opponent, but in the ensuing battle, the woman seemed to have ran away, so Tajamaru is just like, well, what happened to the woman? Fuck it. I went and sold the samurai's sword for liquor, and then I fell off the horse.
Then they ask him about the dagger, and he realizes that he forgot about it, and he says that he is very mad at himself because he should have sold that too.
Yep, it had a pearl inlay in it, and it completely disappeared, and he's just like, that's the worst mistake I could have made in my life. Imagine how much fucking money I could have got for that. And you gotta think, if Tajamaru turned in the sword for liquor, and he was found falling off a horse, I wonder. So yep, he just took the horse, and the bow and arrow and shit, and he was off, and we cut back to the gate at this point, and the commoner's like, Tajamaru was a pretty famous womanizer. I wouldn't be surprised if he killed that lady, too.
And the priest is like, yeah, you would think so, except the woman did show up. And she was able to tell her side of the story as well.
To which the woodcutter is like, nope, both of them are lying. I don't give a shit. You're wrong. They're lying.
The commoner's like, everyone lies. Okay, Dr. House.
It's hard to be honest with yourself.
Dr. House.
And the priest is like, don't be like that, fuck, come on. But nope, we gotta hear the woman's story at this point.
The priest says that she was in such pieces that it made it very hard to believe Tajamaru's version of the story.
She didn't seem fierce at all. She was so docile it was almost pitiful. So now we get the woman's story. So we get the woman's story now, Kristen, and the woman is crying.
This actress, God, what endurance she has for crying.
And laughing. She does that a lot, too, near the end.
Oh, that's my favorite part.
So her story starts after being forced upon by Tajamaru. He laughs in the face of the husband, and she's just like, oh, my poor husband. I can't even imagine what he was going through. I ran right to his side, or at least I tried to. And we see her... A lot of people get up, start astride in this movie and then fall down immediately.
Yeah, there are apparently lots of leaves on the ground that make it super slippery because even, you could argue, period movie, she's very frail and does not run a lot, so she falls, but, fucking everyone is spilling ass in this movie.
A lot of wipeouts. I like how also at this point Tajamaru just runs over and takes the sword and then just runs the fuck away, and that's the end of him in this story.
Yep, he yucks it up the whole time.
The samurai has such a look of disdain toward his wife on his face at this point. She describes that it is a look that made her blood run cold. It was neither anger nor sorrow, but loathing.
Hey Joe, so here's how women work in this time period. If they're raped, they're not good anymore. So, this part's not great.
And any joke I think of trying to make, I'm like, nope, that's terrible. So.
Yep, it's a shitty time period for women. That's just a fact that needs to be stated.
Unfortunately for her, yep, she is basically, we spend the next, 3 to 5 minutes, I guess, of the woman screaming for the husband not to look at her like that. She'd rather be beaten or killed than looked at that way. That's how bad it is. Like, Jesus.
She goes back to get her dagger, cuts him loose, and tries to hand it to him, and says, "Okay, now kill me." And he just keeps staring at her, which I can understand why she's getting so upset if she was crying to begin with.
Yeah, so and I don't know, I mean, I guess, again, this is the woman's story, so I don't know what's going on with this, but yeah, the samurai just kind of, especially from the way that he is portrayed later, the samurai just kind of just sitting there, just like, not saying a word, just kind of looking at her like, welp, not sure what I could do with you now, so, I mean, he probably could have said something.
Yeah, basically whatever version of the story, most of them, you assume the woman was put through a lot and not a winner in this situation, so it's easy to feel bad for her, even if this is an exaggeration. Very, very mean of him to just be like, well, fuck you now. It's like she said, it's worse, basically, that she's being left in this flux, basically, instead of him just going, get out of here, or I'm sorry. Yeah, no reaction whatsoever. That's a little bit too much to cope with after everything else.
She is distraught, Kristen. Yes, indeed. And she keeps saying stop to the point where the subtitles stop translating it.
Yamete.
Which she does later, too, in one of the other stories. She says something so many times that the subtitles just stop. And here, at this point, back at the courthouse, she claims she had fainted, and when she woke up, her husband beside her was dead with her dagger through his chest.
And apparently she tried very hard to kill herself since coming to town, but wasn't able to, and is very broken up about everything.
Yeah, she tried to throw herself into a pond. She forgot how she left at that point, which, okay, I mean, whatever. She tried to throw herself into a pond. She tried many ways to kill herself, but it clearly, I mean, it didn't take. She's not a ghost. She doesn't need to be channeled by a shrine maiden.
Nope, not like her husband.
What should a poor, helpless woman like herself do? And that's basically the end of her story there. And, I mean, was she trying to avoid the fact that she killed the man by just saying, oh, I fainted, and then he was dead?
I think it leaves it ambiguous as to whether or not she killed him before fainting, or after she fainted, he killed himself.
Alright, okay, that's fair enough. I mean, the ropes were cut at that point, so I guess, yeah, he could certainly just go ahead and do that, and we do see from a later story that may be what took place, but...
That's the part that I like so much about all the different stories, is, like, the bandit tells the story, and he's like, yeah, I killed the samurai. And the woman tells the story, and she's like, I probably killed the samurai. Who knows? And then the samurai tells the story, and he's like, I killed the samurai.
With the candlestick in the library.
That sounds right.
So we cut back to the gate at this point. The commoner is like, shit, dude, women lie all the time. How are you supposed to put the fucking crocodile tears, dude?
They can't help it. They're weak of spirit.
Though he does say at least he is getting more confused as he hears the more stories. And then the priest is like, hold on to your seat, bucko. We got a dead man who gave a testimony. Can you fucking believe that shit?
This was my favorite part when I first watched it, because I was like, okay, well, we have 2 stories so far, what the fuck is next? And then it's like, oh no, yeah, the dead guy gave his story too.
I like how the commoner also puts it quite succinctly when he's like, but he's dead.
The priest's like, yeah, bitch.
Didn't stop a Miko from trying.
Did I stutter?
So here we are, we get now a shrine maiden doing a little ceremony to channel his spirit. They say medium, and it's either just a shrine maiden or a Miko, just up to you, whatever the fuck.
Depends on how much anime you watch.
The priest believes this testimony because, of course, dead men don't lie. And the commoner's like, really, bitch?
Really? The thing with the dead man lying, too, is in order to even consider this story, you need to first, like, in the fiction, believe that his spirit was actually channeled.
I like how the commoner is also just like, maybe goodness is just make-believe. Maybe we're just human nature is bad. And the priest is just like, fucking stop it. Don't scare me like that.
You're bumming me out.
So now we get the samurai story via Shrine Maiden. She performs her ceremony, and suddenly she is the samurai. She does speak with the samurai's voice, though, does she not?
If it's something that we are not being shown in the present time, I don't know if we can assume that means it was fact.
Okay, no, I'm just saying, I mean, like, her voice coming through her is not her voice, but the samurai's, right?
I know, but it's still a retelling of what the...
Right, no, I know, I mean, he sounds like he's talking through a cardboard tube, is all that I'm saying.
That's probably how they did it back in the 50s.
He says he is in darkness, and he curses those that brought him to this dark hell.
Oops, yep, he's in hell. That's the first fact we need to face up to.
Well, darkness, Japanese hell, of course.
Uh-huh, whatever that is.
So we start off the story here basically at the same point. It is after Tajamaru has forced himself on the wife, and he's sitting just beside her. He's consoling her because, I mean, he calls Tajamaru very cunning. He speaks very highly of this bandit that just raped his wife.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, Tajamaru's basically going like, don't know, why you crying? Just marry me, and then you won't be a garbage woman. And the lady's like, whoa, really cool.
Hey, leave your husband, marry me. And the woman's just like, you know what? You could take me anywhere you like. And the samurai's just like, well, fuck. Those are some pretty cutting words. Have harsher words ever been spoken?
You know, he says some shit that's pretty harsh, so...
I mean...
If your slate is clean, then don't throw stones.
Then leave her alone. Bum, 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 bum. I'm amazed that men like you can be so shallow, thick, and slow.
We've taken this too far. Could we start again, please?
Okay.
Well, as they're trying to leave, she stops Tajamaru and says, can you kill my husband, though? And in this version of the story, Tajamaru's not cool with that.
No, he is not. He says that this was not her only sin, just being like, yeah, take me wherever you want. The second sin, of course, being, kill that guy. Could you kill that guy? That guy over there who you have tied to the tree. Can you do that, please, real quick?
Would you mind? New husband?
I have written in my notes here as well that the Shrine Maiden, who is being incredibly hammy as she is channeling the spirit of the samurai here, like falling all over shit. She does like a little dog chasing tail motion.
Like that hell spirit inside of her is on a, like, sit and spin or something.
Oh no! Japanese hell is sit and spins!
Holy shit, they're not fun if you're too big for them.
He keeps falling over!
It's really ironic because Japanese heaven for children is also sit and spins.
Oh no! Except it's all dark in Japanese hell.
And it's well lit in Japanese sit and spin heaven.
Japan God just turns the light on for the kids.
Yeah. Boink, there we go.
So, yes, here's where the samurai is also like that. Tajamaru turned pale when he heard that the wife wants the husband dead. And Tajamaru looks at her in disgust and throws her to the ground. And he's like, you know what? I'll do whatever you want with this woman. Just, have her killed, have her saved. All you gotta do is nod.
And the samurai's like, oh, wow, cool. You would kill my wife? I forgive you for raping her in that case.
Yeah, he's... Those words made me almost forgive his crimes. Like, fuck, dude, come on.
Yeah, has a colder thing ever been said, you dick? Remind you of anyone? Asshole?
Again, talking very highly of a rapist.
Yeah. God. Men are weird. She
runs away when she gets the chance as well because Tajamaru is just like walking forward trying to get an answer out of the samurai.
And she's like, later!
And then Tajamaru runs after her and...
Apparently it takes him a couple of hours to realize that he couldn't catch her.
It probably could have been a few minutes. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And then Tajamaru returns and he's like, well, she got away. And he cuts her free. Cuts the samurai free, I should say, not her, but cuts the samurai free. And then he fucks out of the story at this point now.
And goes and takes the horse, assumedly.
The samurai sits there in silence. He hears someone crying.
Huh?
Little does he know, the man crying is himself.
I didn't get to have my wife killed. It's not raining, I'm just crying on my face.
There are slugs falling out of the trees. Fuck, oh god, oh fuck, oh shit. God.
And you know what, if a bunch of slugs fell on me, I would kill myself too.
Apparently, that was a big problem for Akira Kurosawa and the crew, is that slugs kept falling on them in the forest.
The samurai is upset, has the dagger, and he stabs himself.
Everything was quiet. He was enveloped in a deep silence.
And then some motherfucker came and jacked that dagger.
Yeah, someone came and just very gingerly just like...
Yoink! Just wipe off that blood on your clothes since they're already bloody to begin with. A little more won't hurt. Okay, later!
See ya!
And then he's dead.
That was the Miko, so everybody clap for the Miko, because she did, good for her, shrine maidening, channeling spirits.
Good job with that character, that famous character, the Miko.
For some reason, I'm reminded of the channelers in Lavender Tower in Pokemon, and how I could have sworn they were called Chandler when I was a child. Like the character on Friends.
I was gonna say, Pokemon Chandler Bing.
Could these Pokemon be any more dead?
How much Friends did you watch?
0!
Yeah, I had a feeling. Also, are you telling me you thought his name was Chandler and not Chandler?
No. I'm saying I thought the channelers were called Chandler.
So you just read it without a D wrong?
Kristen, I was a dumb child.
True, it's hard to read when you're a child.
So, the woodcutter is pacing back at the gate at this point. He says that the samurai was killed by a sword, not a dagger. That everyone's a big old fat stupid liar.
But wait, there's more. 28 minutes more to be exact.
But wait, there's more.
So, the woodcutter, it now turns out, because he is so adamant about there not being a dagger, he reveals that he saw more of the fight than he claimed to at court.
Not just that, it's just that the commoner is immediately like, whoa, look who knows what he knows, look who knows more than he let on. And the woodcutter is just like, I didn't want to get involved. Don't washing my hands of it, just, nope, none of that. And, but now without the court here, he could tell the whole story. And the priest is just like, fuck, no more horror stories, please, I'm done.
Cover your ears, we're telling the story!
And I like how at this point as well, the commoner antagonizes him some more by just saying, oh, I heard the demon of the Rashomon gate fled when he saw the ferocity of man.
And so now the priest is afraid of the gate, too. Thanks, dude!
But yeah, the woodcutter lied about finding the body because he was there basically the entire time. He got to see the whole thing. So now we see the story from the woodcutter, or I would say the woodcutter's perspective, which considering, I mean, we don't see him witnessing the fight or anything. He's just telling his version of the story, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, he found the hat, and that's where the story starts from after Tajimaru takes the woman over to where the samurai's tied up.
Right. So Tajimaru was on his hands and knees at this point, begging forgiveness of the woman. I wrote that usually he's a one-and-done kind of guy, but he wants more now, so be my wife.
And she keeps crying, and he gets angrier and angrier as she doesn't answer him, and eventually goes to the classic proposal method, marry me or die.
He's just like, I'll stop being a bandit. If you don't want my dirty money, I'll get an honest job for you.
At some point, she literally just, like, stops crying and suddenly sits up with, like, this goddammit look on her face. Like, ugh, what a fucking day I've had. And she just says, this is impossible. A woman can't make this decision.
She basically chooses her husband, I guess, right? Because she runs over and cuts the ropes on him. And Tajimaru's like, oh, I get it. I see what you want to do. So here's where his part of the story comes in, basically. Where he's like, I get you. You want us to fight to the death. I get it. And the samurai's just like, I don't think so.
I'd prefer not to, actually. He doesn't want to fight for her because he's a dick. And he gives our next example of how women work in this time period. If you have sex with two people, even if one of those times is rape, kill yourself.
Yep, the woman is shocked when she hears the samurai just being like, no thanks. You've been with two men. Why don't you just, you got your tanto, and just a little, really, real quick, just right. I'm making like a stab in the heart motion right now, so.
I had a feeling, kill yourself with your dagger the same way I did in my story, however it works. And all of a sudden, Tajimaru is like, maybe it's the point.
Yeah.
So, God, everyone in this movie changes their mind so fucking fast.
I like how he's even just like, I think I'm more concerned about the horse than the woman, so I'm gonna take, you can have the woman, I'll just take the horse if that's okay. And yeah, here's where Tajimaru just kind of looks at her on the ground, and the facial expression that he has before turning away, which looks kind of like almost embarrassment, where he's just like, ooh, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go, if that's okay.
And she starts crying, and then lifts her head, and she is laughing exactly like Tajimaru does, which is amazing. And I wrote down, she's like, are you kidding me? After all that shit, are you kidding me?
And she goes, fucking fight over me, damn it, aren't you guys men?
Yep, she just starts screaming at and shaming both of them. For the husband, for just throwing her away so easily, not even attempting to fight the guy that raped her. and then telling her to kill herself. And Tajimaru, because she said, my life is so fucking boring and I would have stayed with you, but you're terrible too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that doesn't paint the woman in a great light, really, but, you know.
She's a lot more personality now than she did in the other stories.
Very true. It said that she's, instead of just crying on the ground or, like, flailing with the tanto, running at Tajimaru. But, yeah, she's just like, Tajimaru could have saved me from the boring life that I led, but in the end, nope. Just like her husband. A woman loves a man who loves passionately. And both of them, they ain't got no passion.
But she negs them, and it works.
So they fight. Awkwardly. Very awkwardly.
This version of the fight is great because it's very, very bad, and there is no music and no sound effects.
That is my favorite part as well. There is no dramatic Foley effects. There is no music. It is just them. Again, this goes on for 5 minutes, maybe, Kristen?
Awkward grappling, tripping and falling. They don't hit each other very often.
Tajimaru starts throwing grass and dirt in the guy's face at one point. But it's just, I like how they don't really do anything either until their swords are pretty close to each other and the woman screams, and that is when they actually start. Because they trade blows once. Like, the blades hit and they both run away after that. And then it takes a very long time for them to get closer, and Tajimaru is, like, breathing heavy, and the sword is shaking in his hand. Neither of these people want to fight for the honor of this woman, but they gotta be men.
Uh-huh. Toxic masculinity, Joe. Here it is.
So yeah, Tajimaru also loses his sword almost immediately when they are fighting.
Great job.
And the entirety of the fight is him trying to get it back and avoiding awkward stabs and swings from the samurai.
From a samurai?
From a samurai. The samurai does get his sword stuck in a tree trunk at one point, the same one that I was talking about near the beginning. That the woodcutter walks past. And here is where, yes, Tajimaru falls over trying to run towards his sword, and then the samurai grabs onto his leg and can't let him get closer to the sword. So this is where Tajimaru starts throwing grass at him. And then finally he just makes it over. Again, this takes fucking 5... I have not seen a more awkward fight on film.
It's great. It's like the opposite of the duel between the bride and Elle in Kill Bill.
No, it ends up being more like the end part where Elle Driver has no eyes anymore and starts just like flailing around, just going... I
actually changed my mind. I think a better Kill Bill comparison would be Oren and the bride, because that's a very good, clean fight in an open space.
With snow and shit, too.
And with swords.
They aren't fist fighting in the snow.
Messy long sword fight versus very clean short sword fight.
The samurai begs for his life, but he is killed. The woman screams, and then Tajimaru turns to face her. She denies his advances, and then she gets the fuck out of there.
They both trip, but she gets up faster. And Tajimaru trips again.
So he goes and he just pulls the samurai's sword from the tree trunk, and she just, she gets away. And, I mean, I guess if I were Tajimaru, after what had just transpired, I would be like, I need some fucking booze.
He sells the sword, drinks himself into a stupor, has some bad poops.
Falls off a horse.
Falls off a horse. In that order. That poor horse.
And then he pretty much just leaves, and that's it. So we go back to the gate, and the commoner laughs, and he's just like, you're a big fucking liar too, you dumbass. You woodcutter dick.
I think he would say that to any story at this point. I think if he told a version of a story, he would be like, and I'm a liar too!
Well, the commoner openly admits to being a liar is the thing.
Yeah, so...
So the priest laments that if men can't trust each other, then this world is hell.
And the commoner's like, yep.
The commoner only exists basically to fucking just bust the priest's balls for this entire movie, of just saying the exact opposite of what the priest wants to hear, essentially.
I guess I didn't need the heavy-handed scenes in between where they discuss whether or not people are honest, because I feel like the different stories are good enough to make the theme be honesty.
Fuck it. I'm fine with them. They're okay. But he says, yep, in the end, you can't understand the things that men do. So
he puts out the fire, and there's a baby?
What? Oh, what is that? What? Baby?
Oh my god, it's Nathan Jr.
I think.
Oh god, we lost the instructions.
Yeah, the commoner puts out the fire, and they hear the sound of a child crying, and they're like, the woodcutter and the priest are like, what is that? And the commoner runs right over, and there's just a baby in a basket, and The commoner just takes the kimono and the amulet that it has, and the woodcutter's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, not really cool. The baby was wrapped up in the kimono, presumably for warmth, and the amulet, as the woodcutter says, was left there to protect it, and says you don't know what its parents went through that they had to suddenly abandon it, but the commoner does not give a shit, and said that someone else would have stolen it if he did not.
The woodcutter calls it evil, that, everybody's fucking, he's so tired of it, everybody's such a liar, and everybody's only working on their own self-interest. What a dick the commoner is. And he grabs him by the collar and he puts him out in the rain, and the commoner at this point points out, your story was conveniently missing the pearl inlay tanto that showed up in every other story. Isn't that a little weird?
No, it's not. No, it's not weird at all. But then he says, yeah, you might have fooled everyone else. You do not fool me. The dagger was not in your story because you stole it, and you don't want anyone to know.
The woodcutter doesn't really say anything back, so the commoner's like, yep, got it. That makes you just as much of a liar as everybody else. And then he runs off laughing in the rain.
Pitter-patters off in his bare feet.
Taking the kimono and the amulet with him still.
Yep, later. And the priest does pick up the baby.
Yes, the priest, the baby is not left there, thankfully.
Uh-huh.
The priest picks up the baby at this point, and they are standing there, both kind of looking at the ground for a very long time. Or at least there's a fade, so we think it's a very long time.
And the rain stops, right? For the most part?
The rain starts to let up, basically, and the woodcutter, without saying anything, is just like, give me the baby! Just let me take the baby. Just let me grab the baby from your arms.
And the priest says, do not take the diaper off of this baby, please. That's all it has. More or less, that's what he says.
Yeah, it's basically, what are you trying to take from this child when it has so little left? And the woodcutter's like, you know what? I got 6 kids of my own, so, what's one more,
Uh-huh, might as well. And the priest feels bad for having assumed the worst and says, you know what? I'd lost faith in humanity, but this was very nice of you to offer to do. Please, here's the baby. Take care of the baby.
Thank you for restoring my faith in humanity. And the woodcutter just goes, don't mention it. Nande monai. Fucking, it's cool, bro.
Peace out. And then he flies away.
Ba, 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 ba.
He's a superhero the whole time.
Holy fuck, it was Superman.
Whoa.
He was George Reeves somehow.
Kurosawa invented Superman.
But no, the woodcutter just basically walks away, and we get the last shot of the movie where the rain has basically let up, and he's just walking away with the baby, and then it cuts back to the gate, and it says the end. So that's it. That was Rashomon, and Kristen, this was your suggested movie, and I liked it. It was definitely a good movie, I think. So, how do you feel? This is a movie you wrote papers on. How do you feel about it?
One paper, and it was probably only 3 front and back pages long. I think that it is most interesting when you consider it from the perspective of something that kind of created its own definitive subgenre of storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, I guess is this just the most well known, or is it just this is the first of the I don't want to say unreliable narrator because that's not really exactly what it is, but it's several unreliable narrators.
Yeah, it's hard to say, I guess, because, we've long since established that our wheelhouse is mainly in the 80s as far as media goes. So I can't say anything definitive without risking saying something completely wrong.
I am no historian. Despite having a degree with a focus in film, Kristen, I have seen very few movies in the grand scheme of things.
I feel like you need to expand your foreign film lexicon a little bit more, which is part of why, as soon as I took this class, I started saying to you, hey, I just watched this movie, I think you would like it, and you went, okay.
I did take a foreign film class, I'm pretty sure. I did, yeah.
You're only pretty sure?
Kristen, I don't remember. I have a very bad memory when it comes to college.
You're only 2 years older than me.
I have a very bad memory when it comes to things in general, actually.
Well, I'm hoping, at the very least, that this will be the beginning of me going through my old Japanese cinema list and getting you to watch a couple of other things. For fun, not for the podcast, because I'm not sure any of the, incredibly sad movies that I watched would be great for the podcast.
Right. I'm just going to keep watching Sentai and Kamen Rider. I'm going to do that. There's a new Kamen Rider starting next week when we're recording this. The week, technically, it will have premiered at this point. It's about video games.
Nice. Are you at all interested in the Power Rangers movie that's getting worked on right now?
It's the same way that I felt about the Gem movie, I think, which is reserved pessimism, I think, where we haven't seen enough of it yet for me to form a complete opinion, and then even after a trailer, I'm going to be like, maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll be better than this.
I've liked the promotional images I've seen so far, and I'm going to Google something really quick.
They got some star power. They got Bryan Cranston. They got,
so this is the thing that's important to me, is that Elizabeth Banks is going to play Rita.
Yes, and, I don't want to turn this into the Power Rangers movie speculation thing, but I have a very odd feeling, given her coloring and such, that she's going to end up being the Green Ranger.
Rita Repulsa?
Yeah, why not?
That's interesting. That's also just a good costume. I'm into what I've seen of the costumes so far. I like Elizabeth Banks in things that aren't, entirely based on reality movies, because she was very, very good in The Hunger Games.
You see, this is just me being a big ol' homer for Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. I like the way the Rita Repulsa / Witch Bandora costume looks a lot, and it's, obviously if they want to turn her more into, kind of action-y, fighty villain, where Bandora was clearly not, to where I don't think she got into fights with the fucking Zyurangers at all.
Yeah.
Make my monster grow.
Yeah, hung out on her moon mostly. Is Rita Repulsa actually the Green Ranger in Power Rangers? MovieWeb.com. I don't know, the only thing I think is weird about that is that all of the other people that they cast are younger, and Elizabeth Banks is an adult. I
could have sworn that that there was something that I read where they're going to do a thing with her having some familial relationship to at least one of them, I think.
She is not a teenager with attitude.
No, she's a woman.
Yeah.
And they got Bill Hader as Alpha, so good for... They could have just got back Richard Horvitz. He's probably not doing much.
Well, out with the old, in with the new.
Out with the old, in with the new. Out with this old movie. Kristen, we just spent 5 minutes talking about the Power Rangers movie instead of Rashomon.
Oh, well, we cleaned this up a little bit faster than we usually do with movies.
Yeah, it's a very precise movie, I think. It gets in and it gets out. There's nothing that we can hang on where it's like, well, wait a minute, what? Huh? What is it? Why? How does the face-off work? How does Nick Cage has a completely different face from John Travolta? We couldn't do that.
Yeah, our only talking point would be whose story is true, but, it's pretty obvious that none of them is supposed to be the one true story.
Right, and, you could even say that, Tajimaru's was... I like how in both Tajimaru's and the Samurai story, they made the opposite party look better in order to kind of make themselves look better, too, basically.
Yeah, so it wasn't as pathetic on both ends?
Right, because, why the fuck would Tajimaru tell a story about a big flaily sword fight for the honor of a woman that he doesn't even want? And why would the samurai tell a story where he just fucking flailed around and got killed like a bitch?
Uh-huh. It's very interesting how, all the stories are self-serving, but in the same way, they're kind of self-deprecating, too.
Yeah, kind of. And I guess it's one of those things where it's like, oh, the woodcutter story should be taken as fact, is, I think what a lot of people might view this as, but they don't. And I find it not odd or rushed or anything. The ending of the movie is kind of disconnected from the rest of it. It has nothing to do with the stories anymore. It's just one of those things where, it kind of gives you a new perspective on the woodcutter took the pearl inlay thing. He has 6 kids. He might need that. It's the whole fucking poor person stealing a loaf of bread thing,
Yeah, should you judge the factual nature of his story based on the fact that he lied about possibly one detail? Right.
Which, and that's the thing. I don't think anyone is completely right, and honestly, it's a movie that is, at this point, 66 years old, so I'm about it. I don't really care.
Yep. And, the only thing I would say is that, based on the lack of music in the woodcutter story, that's something that I would lean towards saying makes it seem more factual to the viewer. Everything else was presented like a movie dream sequence, and whereas his was this is how things actually happen in the real world. There's, no cool pa-choo, pa-choo noises when people are fighting. If they're bad at fighting, they trip and fall a lot. It's not dramatic, it's just kind of awkward and flailing.
Right, it's happening. Which, of course, yeah, you can say that, Tajimaru was filled with music and shit because he's making himself look like a badass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that'll be a good place to, wrap the bow on that one. Now is the point in the evening where I will list off all of the fun contact things where you can reach us. You can follow us on the Twitter machine at CWTApod. You can follow me at Octopus, that is AWKTAPUS.
You can follow me at FunnyGirlTM, like trademark.
You can find us on the iTunes, on the SoundCloud, on the Stitcher Radio. Leave a rating, give a review, do whatever you feel like. You could also drop us a line, cwtapod at gmail.com, where you can tell us all about mirrors and swords you have hidden away, and the proper way to channel the spirit of some dead asshole.
And we are also attempting a new recording style this week, so hopefully we sound a little bit clearer.
Yeah, maybe you noticed. We got new microphones.
We're upgrading, moving on up in the podcast world.
I got a pop screen and everything. Next week, Kristen, we are moving back into the 1970s, and for the first time, our foray into the 1970s will not be a musical.
Whoa.
It's actually going to be a work in connection with a man we spoke about briefly in Little Shop of Horrors. That man being Roger Corman. What could it be, I wonder?
Back to watching movies I haven't seen.
Yeah, that'll be for you to find out. You specifically, Kristen, but mostly the audience, because I'm certainly not telling you.
I don't know when we became cagey about what movies we're watching, but there we go. It was the face-off reveal, and now we're just like, we don't get to know what movie we're doing.
Ooh, it's a movie from the 70s.
I guess. That's 10 years. Get to looking.
That doesn't make it very obvious.
Well, in the grand scheme of all cinematic history, it does narrow it down quite a bit.
Hey, 1970s, it could be Star Wars.
Send in your guesses.
You get a handshake if I ever see you, and I probably won't.
A Casio keyboard.
For the Can We Talk About podcast, my name is Joe.
I'm Kristen.
And join us next week for another round of movie.
Checks in the mail.